When I created the Kabbalistic candle magic video, I didn't really foresee that it would be popular whatsoever. I thought it would be kind of a niche thing that some people would appreciate, but it would be kind of obscure. And it continues to surprise me how well received that is. I get a lot of emails describing people's success with that and a lot of different questions around that method. And I wanted to address one of the main things that seems to come up in relation to that technique. Before I do so, I think it's important for me to contextualize what that method is about. The Kabbalistic candle magic video, whereas I refer to it as the Kabbalistic candle magic video, but it's really a synthesis of a kind of Solomonic folk magic of my own creation. It is based on the Greater Key of Solomon. Specifically, it's intended to adapt that very, baroque, over-the-top ceremony and condense it down into a very simple candle magic ritual, right? And if you read the Greater Key of Solomon, you'll be aware that it's an extraordinarily complex rite involving a massive circle with swords and braziers and all kinds of things, and depending which version of that text you read, it can range from very complex to even more than complex. And the idea with that rite is that the spirits ruling those pentacles are conjured to visible appearance outside the circle, and then the pentacles are used to direct the spirits. Those pentacles are then taken up, the appropriate pentacles are used, and the spirits are commanded using the pentacles. That means the procedure in the Greater Key of Solomon is a form of spirit work. It is a kind of spirit-driven magic. It relies on the conjuration and directing of spiritual creatures. It happens to have, as part of its formula, these pentacles. And these pentacles are then what allows the magician to control and direct the spirits. And these pentacles are talismanic to some extent, insofar as they attract the spirits. But if you were to think that the Greater Key of Solomon is a method for consecrating talismans, you'd be mistaken. There are assortments of pentacles in that system, but they all fall within the scope of that system of spirit work. These pentacles are used to direct the spirits. Similarly, in my method, my Kabbalistic candle magic method, the pentacle that gets used in that method is a way to direct the spirits whom we petition using that method, right? It's a form of spirit work. It's a scaled down approach, a simplified way of kind of doing what the Greater Key of Solomon, that very complex ritual in the Greater Key of Solomon, sets out to do. We do it in a sort of low resolution way. Instead of conjuring the spirits to visible appearance and going through the extremely arduous process of that whole ritual process, we do that more in the form of a petitioning using candle magic. And then the pentacles are used to similarly direct the spirits, right? I repeat, it is a form of spirit-driven spell work. And that spell is a method to contact and direct the spirits. It is not a method for consecrating talismans. I repeat, it is not a method for consecrating talismans. It has a talismanic component. Yes, we use the pentacles, but the pentacles are a means, they are a tool to command the spirit. That's how we get control of the spirits, you could say, or how we're able to program them, how we're able to direct them. To give an example, I've used this method to work with clients, and in almost every case, the client has had something that they wanted to accomplish. Maybe they wanted to start a new business, or they wanted to attract a lover, whatever the case may be. I would use the method, and I would use the appropriate pentacle outline with my whole procedure, and I would never give them the pentacle. The client, in fact, might be somewhere across the Atlantic for all I know, right? But it would still happen. They would still get their petition granted, even though they had never come into contact with that talisman. Why? Because we were contacting and directing spirits using that technique. So this comes to the point that I get asked most frequently. There's this obsession with these talismans. Should they be made of metal? Should I carry all 20 talismans on my person? And there are all sorts of fixations around these talismans, which I suspect has to do with a market that has been created around selling talismans, right? That's all good and well. Power to anyone that has a business selling talismans. That does not change the fact that the Greater Key of Solomon is not a method for consecrating talismans. And my method is a scaled down method of the Greater Key of Solomon with the intention of directing spirits. It's a way of basically contacting and petitioning those spirits. We happen to use these pentacles to do that. It's part of that rituals protocol, but it's not really about carrying talismans. Now, some of the talismans in the Greater Key do specifically refer to either showing them to a target or putting them on a wound, in the case of one of the Mars talisman, and so forth, and they have a more explicit talismanic function. And indeed, in the hoodoo tradition, and I believe also in OB and similar folk magical traditions in which these grimoires have sort of found their way, the talismans do take on a very explicitly talismanic use with Bible verses, and people carry them and so on. And that is all good and well. But that is not what my method is about. My method is about conjuring and directing those spirits in a very low resolution, accessible way, and in a way that is very targeted. But what I wanted to do in this video is create a distinction, a separation between these two concepts. The one is talismanic magic, and the one is a kind of spirit work. When we're doing spirit work, we are contacting spiritual creatures, spiritual intelligences, using various procedures, in this case something that's derived from the Key of Solomon. And then once we've established that contact with these living intelligences, these objectively real beings, once we have that contact, we ask them to do something for us. Then those spirits, they will go about doing that work. That is what the active agent in that magic is. It's not a passive talisman. I hope that's clear. By the way, if you want to support this channel, there are a lot of ways you can do that. You can order a reading with me. You can order magical coaching with me. You can buy one of my PDF bundles, those ebooks. As I mentioned, they're very popular. There's a bunch of different ones. You can see, I'll link that down below. But thanks for watching, and until next time.